Hey boys, welcome back to the channel, and we're going to be going through the round 2 tips and discussion video here, and we're gonna get straight into it. Kicking us off on Thursday night, the Storm v the Eels at Bankwest Stadium. So, I mean, on paper and on form, I mean, it's a pretty easy tip. And I will say I am going to tip the Storm in this one. It's very hard to go past the Storm. They start the season better than any other team for the last, probably, at least 5 years longer. They just start so well. Their players are always up for it. And the Eels, I mean, they probably should have got beaten by the wooden spooners last year, the Broncos. So, if the Eels start out like they did in that first half for this game, it's going to be very reminiscent of the Storm v Rabbitohs, and the Storm could put on some points early. But, the Eels obviously came back into that game against the Broncos and scored a few tries, looked a lot better. But, it's hard to go back. It's hard to go past the Storm. Couple of ins. Marata Niokore, he's a big inclusion. It's also got Hayes Dunster, but I don't think he will play. I thought didn't Opicic, he picked up a little injury, but it looks like he is named, so it looks like he'll take the field. So no changes in the backline at the minute. George Jennings and Remus Smith obviously retain their positions with Brenko Lee still injured. So that, again, that's definitely going to be the target area for the Eels. But the thing is that, up against the Rabbitohs, that left-hand attack for the Rabbitohs is unbelievable. Like, it's the attack that is probably the best attack in the comp. And I thought even with Remus Smith and George Jennings a little bit out of sync and not the best, I thought they did an okay job against just an incredibly dangerous attack that has torn up every edge it's come up against. So I think against the Eels they can defend a lot better. And the rest of their back line it's very set. I mean, the Olam and Addo Carr partnership, I've talked about it before, but it's a great pairing, dude. It's an absolute fantastic center and wing pairing. And then Niokore, where does he come on to? He comes straight onto the bench with Hipgrave out, which definitely. I mean, it's a pretty good bench. Looking at it before round 1, I would have said the bench was pretty weak with Oregon Kafusi, good young player, Papali'i, not great form at the Warriors. Will Smith never plays many minutes, and it would have been Hipgrave, who I don't know why people talk him up. I honestly don't rate him very highly, but Papali'i was sensational last week. Played one of the best games I've seen him in years. Oregon Kafusi looked very strong, and Niokore, he's a really good player. And then the forward packs do match up well. I think, compared to the Rabbitohs, I think the Eels definitely have a stronger forward pack. So, the Storm aren't going to just run over the top of them. Brandon Smith isn't going to have a field day out dummy half. The likes of Paulo and Nathan Brown, Campbell Gillard, these guys will take it to them. But I would still give the edge in the Storm forward pack. And the bench, honestly, it on paper, again, it's not a strong bench. Like, it's not big names. It's not really players you'd look at and be excited about. But they just come on and do their job. That's the great thing about the Storm. Kamikamitha, Eisenhuth, and Chris Lewis all just go on and do their job and do it well. So I'm tipping the Storm. Obviously, it's at Bankwest, so the Eels always get up for these ones. But I can't go past the Storm. You can't go past them. But this is definitely a game that you could see the upset. You could definitely tip the upset of the Eels, because I love, dude, Dylan Brown is a real player. I still think even in round 1, like I don't know. I just feel like the Haas pairing, it's a pretty solid Haas pairing, but Dylan Brown, he controls that. He controls that team. Mitchell Moses just sort of, he steers them around, but then Dylan Brown is the guy that does all the attacking. And I feel like very similar to Cameron Munster, honestly. Fairly like for like players. Both strong, very strong in defense, which I love to see. He can put on some decent shots. So I'm excited. It's going to be a good game. The round one game of Storm Rabbitohs didn't quite live up to the hype just because the Rabbitohs were very poor, but I think it'll be a good game. Next up, this is also a very, very exciting game, in my opinion, a very interesting game. So the Knights v Warriors. The Warriors were good against the Titans. It's a hard one. It's a hard one to really talk about because the Titans were really not great. The Warriors defended well, but also their attack I didn't think was exceptional. But their forwards definitely played well. They definitely got them going forward. The Knights I thought were pretty good. Without Kalen Ponga. Kurt Mann going off injured but again, it was against the Dogs, who I don't rate very highly, and their forward pack just monstered the Dogs. So this is going to be this will really sort of set the tone for both of these teams. It'll sort of give a really good indication of who actually is going to go well in this season. And I think it could be a tight one for sure. I'm gonna. We'll quickly talk about the team. So, unfortunately, Ewan Aiken is out injured, which is a pretty massive loss because he was a great signing for them. And he just added like a real stability in their defense. And it's saying that the Warriors, especially on the edges, the last few years have been very weak in their edge defense. But Ewan Aiken, he's as strong as they come. Obviously, a great ball runner. And yeah, he was in great form at the Dragons at the end of last year. He got into some good form and he looked really good in round one. So that's a big loss. They bring in they bring in Adam Pompey, who he showed some good signs last year when he got his chance on like the wing, and I think he played a couple of games as centre. But a decent recruit or a decent replacement, but definitely lose quite a bit there. The rest of the team looks pretty unchanged. The Knights, so Kurt Mann does get named, which is surprising because I thought originally they were saying like it was an MCL, I thought, and he was going to be gone for like at least like 2 or 3 weeks, but he's named. That's sort of a wait and see if he ends up playing. The forward packs are unchanged. It looks like Wade. Did Wade Egan? Yeah, Wade Egan started. It looked like he got injured, but he's fine to play this one as well. Bailey Sirenen also picked up a knock, but he's fine to go. Connor Watson gets named at lock again, but again, this Knights team could easily see Kurt Mann get replaced by Connor Watson at 5'8", and Suaso Su go back to lock. Or they could bring in Phoenix Crossland, who's a good young player as well. So they got some options there. Got some options, but the bench. I mean, this is gonna be the forward pack battle for sure. I mean, I gotta say I love the Knights forward pack, but overall, I would say that the Warriors have the edge in the pack. I mean, you look at the bench: Tavanga, Murdoch Masila, Leeson Harmau, and Bunty Afoa. I mean, that is as strong a bench as they come. Great power, great strength, and you've got Tavanga who can play in the middle, but also he can play dummy half, which is great. He's just that utility, and then the starting pack is mighty strong as well. David Clemmer was massive last week. Probably won't play as many minutes with hopefully not as many injuries. Saifidi has been great. Jaden Brayley, obviously the captain, was sensational. And then Frizzell played, probably the best game he's played in a few years as well. And Barnett was sensational. So this is going to be a tough game. I'm tipping the Knights. I feel like the Knights just have a little just a few more points in them. I feel like it's going to be tough in the middle, but the Knights, I think, just a little bit more class out wide. I think the halves pairing of Pearson Mann is a little bit stronger, although, Nikorima has been in great form, and Harris Tavita wasn't at his best in round one, but he's definitely got quite a bit of potential. So it's going to be a good game, I hope. But I'm tipping the Knights in a close one here. I think it'll be a close game. If Kurt Mann does get ruled out, honestly, I would still tip the Knights, because I think they've got good cover for Kurt Mann. I love Kurt Mann, and I think he is their go-to 5'8". But I still would tip the Knights. Now the blockbuster, the 11th v 10th, the Bronx v the Titans, the Queensland Derby. Again, the three good games. And it doesn't really matter the table position. Titans v Broncos or Cowboys v Broncos. It's always going to be a good contest. It's always going to be a good game, and I'm expecting some fire. Obviously, David Fafita, playing against his old club, he's going to be fired up. The Broncos boys are going to be fired up, looking to belt him, and he's going to be breaking tackles. So I'm excited for the battle there. Tino as well has been. He's been coming out saying that he was a former Bronco back in his younger days. So there's some rivalry, and also just in general, like a lot of the ex-Broncos have moved over to the Titans, and it's always a good clash. So I'm excited. The big omission, unfortunately, Brian Kelly is out injured, which again is massive. Is a massive loss, because Kelly is a quality centre. He's probably their strike. Yeah, he's definitely their strike outside back, so it definitely hinders their attacking potential. Because you look at the back line, Philip Semi comes into the centre department, who he's a good player, but he definitely doesn't have the skills of Kelly, in my opinion, or the strength. And then other than that, it's mainly just Brimson sweeping around the back that's the real threat, and probably like a kick out wide to Anthony Don. So yeah, but we'll see how their attack goes without sort of a strike centre, in my opinion. The Broncos, obviously Matt Lodge is out with that hamstring, which brings Thomas Flegler into the starting position, which I don't know, dude. I'm very 50-50 on Flegler. He looks really good when he first gets out there and when he first starts, but I've said this so many times, but he looks like he gets gassed so quickly. Like, he cannot play more than 15-20 minutes, and then he is gone. And he gives away so many 6-to-goes just lying in the ruck. So him starting is probably not a bad thing, but the biggest annoyance for me is bloody Reece Kennedy is on the bench, who I don't rate whatsoever. I don't know how he gets a spot in a Broncos team, dude. I'm gobsmacked, but he's got the nod there. But regardless, I don't mind the bench. Obviously, the good news, John Asiata is good to go, but it's definitely concerning with Asiata, because it was very innocuous, and they were saying in preseason he had issues with burners down his neck and stuff. So very, very bad for Asiata and the Broncos, because at any time during a game he could have the same issue, I guess. So that's not good. But Ethan Bullimore, he only played limited minutes, but he, like I keep saying, he is an absolute gem. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets some more minutes in round 2. Ben Teo had to come on and play centre, but he's looking a lot compared to last year. He's looking fit, he's looking strong, and I was surprised if they did play him centre and not Glenn, but it sort of just shows what he did over the preseason, because last year, coming back from Union, he was definitely unfit. He was definitely not, he wasn't ready for big minutes in the NRL, but he's looking back to his strong best. And the Titans, the bench is okay. I thought Tyron Peachy was pretty good for them last game. But yeah, big boys, Fafita, Tino, I think they're going to have big games. Fodawaker, Jared Waller's playing against his old club as well. I'm sure we'll stand up. And then, the halves, Croft I thought was pretty poor in round one. I thought Milford was excellent. Ash Taylor and Fogarty, I thought both were pretty poor in round one, so they'll definitely have to stand up. But I'm going with the Broncos. I'm going with my boys, the Broncos. I just, it's always hard to tip against them. Regardless, although pretty much last year I didn't tip them at all because they were so bad. But I think the Broncos showed a lot better signs than the Titans in round one. Now, I definitely think the Titans are going to come out and fire up, and I think it's going to be a good game, and the Titans definitely could win this one. But, going off round one, I think the Broncos were definitely superior. They definitely looked a lot better than the Titans did, and I thought, Mead was great. And, Tessiniu and Herbie in the centres, I thought were pretty solid. And Azarko at fullback, he looked pretty confident. So, I'm going with the Bronx. I'm excited for the game, though. It's, honestly, three good games to start. And then we have the Bulldogs Panthers. So, yeah, I mean, definitely tipping the Panthers. I think they should win and win pretty comfortably against the Dogs here. Any changes? There's players in, but they're only in the extended squad. So I think overall it's unchanged. Actually, no, Corey Waddell drops back to the bench and Fatala Mariner starts, which is probably fair. Although I thought Corey Waddell was pretty good starting, and I thought when Fatala Mariner came on, he came up with a couple of pretty costly errors. So I'm surprised he's made that change for round two if he wasn't going to do it in round one. But I mean, Fatala Mariner, he is, if he plays his best footy, he's definitely a class second rower. But I mean, they have a pretty strong bench. Dylan Napa, dude, every time I say this all the time as well, but I just don't know what's happened to Napa. He's just lost all his go forward. He's lost all his aggression, and I mean, I guess with the shoulder charge ban, that's hindered him a little bit, but even so, like, a lot of his big hits back in the day, like, they weren't even shoulder charges. Like, he definitely pulled off the shoulder charge, but a lot of his strong hits were just good tackles, like good strong tackles. I still remember that game where he just decimated the Rabbitohs. He just absolutely annihilated the Burgess boys. And I'm like, what happened to that Napa? What happened to that Napa dude? So yeah, it's disappointing. It's disappointing, and I don't know. I feel like he'll never really get back to that because he's at his opportunities. So yeah, disappointing to see. Jack Hetherington, I thought was good as a new recruit. Probably lacked a little bit of the aggression I thought he would, but played big minutes, got through a stack of work. Good signing for them. Actually, yeah, the other change, Jeremy Marshall King comes onto the bench. Who I think it's a good change. I think he's a good dummy half. Can play in the halves if needed. So he's a decent utility option. But other than that, I mean, like I said in the review of round one, Kyle Flanagan, I thought actually played pretty solidly. I thought he was their definite, main attacking weapon. He created quite a few chances. The kicking game was pretty solid. Jake Averillo, I thought had a shocker, and I don't want to act like I told you so, but I thought he was defensively bad, and I don't think he made any runs. I actually think he might have. I remember looking at the stats, and I'm pretty sure he made 0 running meters, which is just, it's it's boggling to me. His short kicking game was actually pretty good in the first half, but he's definitely there for his running. Like he's a big, quick, young athlete. Like he's there to run the footy, like similar to like a Jack One, I would think, but he didn't run it. He didn't touch the football. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that one. I feel like this game he's definitely going to run the footy. Surely Trent Barrett would talk to him and be like, mate, you gotta take the line on. That's what you're there for. But other than that, like Corey Allen was solid in his debut. Nick Kotrick was definitely their most dangerous back. Definitely, every time he touches it, he's a handful and creates chances. But yeah, it's just the lack of polish for the Dogs, like usual. And then, I mean, the Panthers, they're struck all around the ground. Stephen Crichton didn't really touch the footy much, but you know what he can do. Brian To'o, just absolute legend. Jerome Luai, every time he touches it, he's a menace. Cleary controlled it like usual. And then the forward pack, a lot of these guys played a lot less minutes than they usually would, but it just sort of goes to show that their bench is very strong. I mean, Spencer Leniu is coming on and he played a lot more minutes. Liam Martin on the bench. I mean, he'd be starting at most clubs. So it's a strong team. And I'm definitely tipping the Panthers in a big one there. Then we got another one here. Oh no. The Seagulls v the Rabbitohs. Apparently I actually think a lot of these games it's meant to be wet weather footy, so that could definitely change up the results and bring some teams into it. And I think this is a game that's meant to be wet weather, which is very beneficial for the Seagulls. Because I think if this was a dry Saturday afternoon, oh boy, I don't even want to think what the Rabbitohs could put on the Seagulls in this one. Especially because the Rabbitohs, were so poor in the first half of round one. They looked really good in the second half. Their attack, they can attack any team. They can score points against the Storm with ease. So, coming from that round one, game two here, they're going to be fired up. They're going to start well. I worry about the poor old Seagulls in this one. But it looks like he has made the right decision. And, well, he's still got Lachlan Croker starting at dummy half. I don't know what is he thinking? What is Des Hasler even thinking, dude? Cade Cust clearly should be the starting dummy half. I am baffled. I mean, Cade Cust destroyed it in the New South Wales Cup, which again, obviously going back to New South Wales Cup, it's not, you're not like, oh, he's a world beater at dummy half, but he just offers so much more from dummy half. He's a stronger defender. I'm just shocked that last week they had the Croker at dummy half for the whole game. But yeah, other than that, it's unchanged. Sean Kepi actually comes in as well for... Who does he replace? Tavita Funa? I think? Who else replaced? I'm not too sure. Jack Kazeski switches with Andrew Davey, which again I think is probably how they should have started in round one. I mean, on paper, again, it's a decent forward pack, but, I mean, Marty DePau has just... he's sort of like Dylan Napa. He's definitely playing better than Dylan Napa, but he has gone downhill drastically from what he used to produce. Like, he doesn't offload. He doesn't break tackles. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe injured. Maybe he is just carrying niggles and he just can't shake. He is, he's getting on, but, I mean, they usually said that, front rowers this time of their career, like, they don't necessarily play their best footy, but they usually still play pretty well. But, yeah, Tapau, I don't know, I've been very disappointed with him the last couple of years, and without Fanil Blake there, I think, yeah, it's really showing. Jake Trebojevic, I just feel without Tom, he just doesn't have the impact either. Like, very good defender, one of the best defenders in the game for sure, but doesn't really offer that much in attack. So yeah, the Seagulls. Cherry Evans had a bit of a shock in round one. Didn't play his best game. Kieran Foran, I thought was okay, but at the same time, I didn't really notice him. I didn't really see him really touch the football. I still think Josh Schuster should be the starting 5'8". It's nice to think that Cherry Evans and Foran could get back to their, debut season together, and that was a great time to watch footy. They were sensational, but it's not going to happen. Like, Kieran Foran, I just don't think is up to being a 5'8", starting 5'8" anymore. And Schuster, I think is ready to go. So, yeah, bit of a weird one. Dylan Walker, I thought was okay at fullback, but yeah, definitely struggles under the high ball. So he's going to get targeted. He's going to get targeted a lot with Adam Reynolds putting up these spiral bombs for sure. And then the Rabbits, I mean, Mitchell was sensational. I said he was in for a big year, dude. I said he was in for a big year. And, I mean, he worked harder than he has in a long time. He got his hands on the footy. Every time he went to that left-hand side, it looked like he was going to score or set someone else up. And that's pretty much what happened in the second half. Cody Walker was good. Adam Reynolds, very underrated Reynolds. He's definitely one of the best halfbacks in the comp, but he never really gets talked about as being one of the better players. And then the forward packs... the forward pack, Thomas Burgess is good to go with that. He had a burner as well. Kalamatangi takes the spot of Jacob Host, who I did think was pretty weak, and I know Kalamatangi he's a monster, and he was training in the back row, so it looks like Bennett has pulled the pin on that, and it looks like he'll get the nod. And actually, yeah, the other one, Jackson Paulo, takes over from for old Josh Mansour, who in round one I did say Mansour I thought was a bit of a weak link out there, and yeah, never really rated Mansour. He's a strong ball runner and he can get the sets rolling, but defensively and just his errors and that sort of thing, definitely a weak link. So I think Paulo is the better option in all honesty. And then the bench Arrow was outstanding. So, he'll definitely come into the starting side at some point. They're probably just, getting him into the structure, old Bennett. And, he played big minutes, so it doesn't really matter if he's on the bench or not. Patrick Mago comes on to the bench as well, who I rate pretty highly. But yeah. And also, Tautau Moga is he's signed to the Rabbitohs, so I think that's good depth as well. Moga... back in his day, definitely a solid player. So yeah, the Rabbitohs are going to win that one. Then we have the Cowboys v Dragons. So I'm actually going to watch this game in Townsville. So hopefully my boys, the Cowboys, can get the win. I'm not confident, and I'm gonna say straight out, I'm tipping the Cowboys. Although again, I think both of these teams, remembering back, I'd probably say the Dragons were a little bit more impressive than the Cowboys. The Cowboys were goddamn awful, but they did take on the Panthers. They only conceded 24 points, and they're only down 8-0 at halftime with a mountain of possession against them. So, their defense was definitely a lot better. They obviously leaked a few tries at the end, but their defense was a lot better than it has been. So that's good signs. But the handling, the errors, and their attack was just, oh man, it was bad. And you look at the attack, Fido, Holmes, Drinkwater, Morgan, Essan, Masters, Felt. How is there not points? How is there not points in this backline? They just, I don't know. I feel like it's gonna click. I feel like it's gonna click at some time during the season, and hopefully it's this game. But obviously there's been a lot said about Tamalolo, and again, I'm not an NRL coach. Todd Payton is, but the consensus is, why would you cut down Tamalolo's minutes? If he can play more minutes and still produce what he has for the last, how long has he been starting for the Cowboys now? A long time, and he's done it easily. So why change it? I can understand the point of shifting him onto the back row, and I've said this for a long time as well, that I would love to see Tamalolo. I don't mind him at lock, and he's a great lock, but I wouldn't mind to see him at times shift out to the edge, because having Tamalolo run at a half? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? No half is going to be able to tackle Tamalolo, dude. It's just not going to happen. So, you get Tamalolo, just use him as a decoy. There's going to be space. So I can get the point of playing him out wider, but I don't understand reducing his minutes. And yeah, but it was, it's hard to tell in round one, because they didn't have any footy when he was on there, so he didn't get the chance to have the impact that Payton obviously wanted him to have. Reece Robson was very good, very good. I thought honestly, that forward pack, dude, Molo was good, McLean, dude, the forward pack, McLean, Dunn, and Cohen Hess, oh man, they were awful. And this is off topic, but Francis Molo signing to the yeah, it is the Dragons, isn't it? I'm so salty about that. Obviously, they offered him big money, and it's hard to challenge that amount of money. But I'm like, dude, how can you let Molo go? Get rid of McLean, get rid of Cohen Hess, get rid of goddamn Josh Maguire, dude. How are you gonna let Francis Molo go? I'm like, McLean has been absolutely rubbish since coming from the Storm. Cohen Hess, I mean, he had 1 year where he was, I mean, people say he was good, but honestly, was he even that good? I mean, he scored a lot of tries, but his defense was still terrible back then, and he has just been found out ever since. Josh Maguire, honestly, that game last week, some of his defense was so lazy. He looked lazy. It looked like he didn't want to be there at certain points. I actually thought Corey Jensen was pretty good, the young fella here, and Ruben Cotter was good as well off the bench. But some of their experienced forwards, my God, yeah, they definitely need to sign some forwards. Like that is abundantly clear. Or try to get through some of their young forwards, because they got some good young forwards. I still don't know why Lachlan Burr isn't getting a shot. He was exceptional for the Warriors last year. I'm shocked. I'm shocked, dude. But yeah, for the Dragons, yeah. What can you say? I mean, McCulloch, the new recruit, was good. He was like he was for the Bronx. I mean, solid. Took the few odd scoots. Plenty of tackles. No misses. Pretty good. Ben Hunt, I actually thought Ben Hunt was okay. He definitely I mean, it's sort of the thing with Ben Hunt. He just comes up with a couple of really bad errors, and it makes his game look bad overall. But he was one of the better Dragons for sure. I thought he played pretty well, barring a couple of shockers, dude. It's sad to say, because I love Ben Hunt. I think he's a good player, but yeah, he can come up with some shockers. Corey Norman obviously comes back into the team, which I don't know. Is it a good or a bad thing? Who knows, dude? We'll see how he plays. I don't know how he's going to play. Zach Lomax, didn't really see any of the footy. Jack Bird obviously came through unscathed, which is good to see. Dufty was really good for them, but yeah, not too much else really. So I'm tipping the Cowboys. I'm not confident. I think the Dragons were more impressive in their loss to the Sharks, and they could have won that game, but I'm tipping my boys. I'm tipping my Cowboys. Then we have the Tigers v Roosters. So we got some changes. Adam Dwayne comes in, or do they want him to say Dewey? Is that how he wants it said? I don't know. I've always said Dwayne, so I'm going to keep saying it like that. But Dwayne comes into the 6, which means Moses Mbai goes to the 14, and Tommy Talea stays at 17, which is a little bit weird, having 2 utilities on the bench. But I don't know. I mean, they got some forwards that can play big minutes, so it's not too weird, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. It'd be interesting to see if Mbai does spell little, or maybe he does just come on as that sort of second lock or second 5'8" type role, potentially. Any other change? I thought Joe Offengowie was really good for the Tigers. Luciano Leilua was good. Jacob Little, I thought, yeah, he was good as well. Luke Brooks, once again, just didn't steer the ship well enough. Like he's fully in control now. It's got to be his time to shine, but he just hasn't quite found it. He can do some great things, and he's actually a really good defender, which I like. But yeah, they had chances and they had attacking opportunities. They just couldn't capitalize, and it's got to come back to Brooks at the end of the day. Dane Laurie, I thought, was exceptional in his debut, and I am glad that they didn't drop Dane Laurie for Mbai. I think that's definitely the right decision, and it would have been tough to drop him after that game and how he was in the trials. So I think that's solid. James Roberts, I thought Roberts looked pretty good, and it is true. What I think it was Johns who kept talking about it, where he was crabbing across field and no one was pushing up, and he's done that through his career, and he can be devastating. But yeah, I mean, that's where Luke Brooks and other guys in the dummy half and the second rollers, they need to be pushing up and hitting holes. And I mean, it's exactly what Joey was saying, but it is true. Like, they weren't supporting it, and having someone with that speed across field, it puts the defense on edge, and there's holes to be had for sure. Joey Leilua, dude, I love Joey Leilua. I don't care what anybody says. I love watching him. He didn't have his best game, but I still love him. I still love watching him. So I think he'll come good. He'll come good. On the flip side, I mean, the Roosters obviously were very, very impressive. Luke Keary just steered the ship beautifully. The outside backs all did what they do. Angus Crichton is the big omission with that crusher tackle, which I am shocked that he got charged for that. But he misses a week. And also the other big one is Jake Friend being out. And obviously, it could be big ramifications if he is out for a long time, or even has to retire, which would be terrible. But the young Freddie Lussick, who was a good young dummy half, comes in. Nat Butcher takes Crichton's spot, so they don't lose too much. I mean, Butcher is a very good player as well. Drew Hutchinson comes on to the 14, and the rest of it, Fletcher Baker, not too sure about him, but he's on the bench. There is talk Sam Walker could jag a spot over Hutchinson come game day, which I don't know. They could. I mean, against the Tigers, it's probably a pretty good chance to blood Sam Walker off the bench, but we'll see. I mean, Sam Walker, he killed it in the trial. I mean, this kid is going to be a star, and it's great he's a Queenslander, dude. Queensland probably need another superstar halfback coming through. So Sam Walker, I think it's pretty good timing. Him, Harry Grant, potentially. I think that could be a pretty good combo with Munster and Ponga at the back. But, oh man, he is a player, Sam Walker. He is still very small though, so I think it doesn't mean you have to be big to play, but he's going to get targeted, so is he ready? At the moment, I think he is, like, as a footballer, but yeah, he's going to get targeted. So can his body sort of handle the physicality of NRL? We'll see. I mean, they'll know better than me. They've seen him play and train. But yeah, other than that, like, it's still a very good team. I'm definitely tipping the Roosters. It's a game that I think the Tigers, this is a game that they could cause an upset, because the Roosters coming off a massive win. No Jake Friend, no Angus Crichton. It's an upset. It's a game you could tip an upset, but you can't tip against the Roosters if you're being serious. If you just want to put a bit on the upset, you could win some, but I wouldn't be doing it. And then the last game here, Sharks v Raiders. So Jesse Ramian is out for that dog shot on Matt Duffy. Honestly, that was a really bad shot, dude. I was a bit shocked he got sin bin, but watching it back, I'm like, dude, he probably should have been sent off for that. That was ordinary. So I'm glad he's out. He probably should have been out for longer, but regardless, it brings Hiroti into the team, who's a pretty solid player. This is a tough game, honestly. I mean, the Raiders were good, but I didn't think they were that good. I think the Tigers played so bad in that second half that it sort of flattered the Raiders. Everyone's talking about the Raiders being like a top 4 team. I honestly, I'm going against the trend. I just don't think the Raiders are going to be that impressive this year, and I could definitely eat my words. Like, I could be completely off base, but I don't know, something about their team. I just feel like they've lost quite a bit of their punch. Obviously it's nice having Josh Hodgson back. Hudson Young, I mean, he's a good young player, and he was very good replacing John Bateman, and I wasn't too surprised. But yeah, the bench, I mean, Ryan James, it was great to see him come back and play good minutes, get a try, get uninjured, which is nice to see. So it's still a good team, don't get me wrong, but I don't know, I don't see the top 4 finish like a lot of people are saying. But again, could be completely wrong about that one. Could be completely wrong. But the Sharkies, I mean, they were okay. Again, it's hard to judge. Like, they're taking on the Dragons. They ended up winning that fairly comfortably, but they definitely could have lost it. Matt Moylan, I thought, was pretty good at 5'8" for them. The outside backs were pretty solid. The forward pack, Toby Rudolph, I thought, was really good. Yeah. I'm even though I've been talking the Raiders down, I'm gonna tip the Raiders. I don't really like this Sharks team. I don't know, it's just lacking something for me. So, actually, the other one here, William Kennedy, was sensational. I thought he was great for the Sharks, and yeah, I think he's definitely their sort of long-term fullback option. He was very, very good. But yeah, I'm tipping the Raiders in this one. So yeah, that's the tip sheet done. So yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying the NRL action. Make sure to like and comment. Let me know who you're tipping, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.